My name is Nekkhil Mishra. I work for Independent Project Analysis. I currently I'm the managing director of our operations covering Europe, Middle East, Africa, including Russia. Um, for those of you who don't know IPA, we consider ourselves the world's leading research firm when it comes to functioning of capital projects. Uh, most of our clients work in the private sphere, so most of our knowledge comes from the private industry and what I would call the extractive industry. So we cover mining, chemicals, refining, oil and gas, pharma, where you spend large amounts of capital trying to keep your business alive. They come to us to basically understand whether they're well set up to execute their project to maximize the outcomes.
Okay. And what sort of data does that involve? What sort of data are you trying to capture and extract?
Fantastic. So, to be honest, to give you the size of what we collect in any given calendar year, we collect maybe 800 to 1,000 projects. So, and the data we collect is mainly around technical details. So, size of things, material quality, so all kinds of technical details. We specialize in providing insight into project management practices. So, what kind of contracting strategy are you using? What kind of design firms? What kind of contracts have you set up? What kind of incentives? So, all kinds of project management strategies. How have you organized your teams? How have you built up your schedules? How have you built up your costs? So, just covering project management, technical, and I guess the most important part is to collect the cost in a structure that we have standard. So the owner's cost for the entire project, for the capital phase, and of course the schedule. So that's sort of the core part of our data. However, when you work with enough organizations on a regular basis, we also collect data on how the organizations are organized. So the various levels, their governance structure, their governance process, what kind of decisions they take, how do they take it, and of course their work process. So how do they plan these projects in what we call the front end.
Right. Okay. So when you're first working with a client, how do you go about developing the kind of use case and framing the questions to make sure that you're getting the kind of data you need?
To be honest, whenever we interact with a client, the first question would be asked is, what is the objective? So what are you trying to get out of it? So, benchmarking is just a tool of comparing yourself versus the others, best or the others in the industry, but it's just a comparison that covers various facets. So you almost need to understand what they want to do. So what is their objective on any project? Okay, what is your objective? You want to make sure you achieve the best possible outcome. Okay. Or if you're an organization and you are changing your organization, you might want to have a comparison of how other organizations are organized to function. So the first question is, what is the question you're trying to answer? When do you need it done by, of course. So everybody calls this a needs analysis framework. So you're trying to suss out their needs, and then you can bring in the question, okay, to answer these questions, this is sort of the data you would require. So I would say 60% of our work, it's quite standard because everyone's looking for a risk evaluation on their projects on the front end. So prior to, we call it final investment decision, or when the money's sanctioned. And most organizations are looking at, okay, can IPA come in, give us a view of how well set up they are to succeed. Of course, give us the cost and schedule benchmarks. Am I cheap? Am I expensive? Am I fast? Am I slow? And then give us a holistic view of, am I set up to succeed? So, one of our first lines are, yes, this project is ready to get sanctioned or not ready to get sanctioned because of X, Y, and Z reasons. So sort of giving the holistic view of whether this project is well set up to succeed in the context of the industry. So the way you can do that is, look, versus others you're better defined in some places, or versus others you're worse defined, which means you have risk that you would have to watch out for going forward. So it's all about So for majority of our clients, it's quite standard. We have our standard methodologies that we've developed over 30 years. We keep adding to that, so we measure how well the front end loading is, or how well the engineering is, or how well the teams are. But we have standard methods. So for about 60% of our clients, it's about how do we set up to succeed for this project, and then for the rest, it's more custom. Uh, should I change my work process? Should I change my organization, etc.?
I wondered about getting usable data sets and making sure that clients are generating the kind of data that you can actually analyze, and you can also integrate with the data sets you've got from other clients.
So it's a fantastic question. Usable data, what I've seen and found is, I guess there are two aspects. Anything we collect, most of what we collect in a standardized manner. So we have a set of tools, we call them workbooks, but they're Word documents that have been framed to cover particular topics, and it's like surveys. They're well thought of. You're not pushing your client towards a particular answer, but you are giving the boundary conditions in which they can answer, so that you are collecting all this information in a standardized format. That is the only way to really use data. Yes, free form questionnaires are good, and we have questions like that, and it's thought provoking. But if you want to use any kind of data in the future, it's best to think, what are the answers I need in 5 years or 10 years, and then what is the best way to collect that now, and then over 4 or 5 years you will get enough data to then actually answer those questions. So usable data, there's a bit about thinking about the future, what you need to do, and then there's a bit of, okay, if I need to do XYZ in the future, I need to think about how to standardize to collect that data today. The other aspect, or the key to usable data in our organization, is one of our principles of operations is we will have face-to-face interviews. So we don't use a sort of a subscription model where you send information over the web and it just gets crunched by computers. We send people all over the world to spend a couple of days with teams, making sure that the data we collect is of usable quality, because my experience is, anytime you have garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
So if you get bad information coming in or not usable information coming in, you frequently get results that are basically not usable. So we make sure that we have standardized books that are thinking about the future, and then we have trained people who do this on a day-to-day basis to make sure that the client's data is mapped to our standards in the same way. So there is this consistency of collection which makes the data usable.
I understand. And in terms of analysing the data, what kind of tools do you use for that process?
So we have a whole division called the Project Research Division that all they do is play with the information. So it's about maybe 15% or 20% of our company in terms of people are just there to consume the information and discover the answers, let's just call it. We typically use this tool called Stata, which helps us do statistics, but in universities it's similar to like MATLAB, etc. But so that's the tool we use to process the information. We have a whole other group in our organization called our database group, and their whole function is to ensure that the data that's coming in is clean and housed in a way that is usable, and of course it needed to be clean before it got there.
And in terms of data agreements and data security and intellectual property and all the ways that organizations agonize about their data, how do you manage that?
So this is it's a fantastic question, because for every new clients, one of the uniqueness of the way we operate is that we are the bridge that lets one company compare itself to the other company, to the third company, without in an anonymized manner. So we have what we call, what does this facility cost versus industry? Well, if you're a Shell project, that industry has Shell data, BP data, Exxon data, Total data. So it's for the purposes of us to be able to use the industry, we actually state that IPA is the owner of the data and not the client, in order to use and process the data, which sometimes is a very hard pill to swallow for the client, saying, hello, this is my information, how can you be the owner of it? And the way we explain it is that we are sort of a licenser of the information you're providing. It's one of those sort of unlimited user licenses, that because we need to be able to manipulate, and when I say manipulate, it's more about analyzing. So we need to be able to analyze that data, and hence we as a company are actually the owner of, or forever licenser of that information.
Yes, I guess it's a trade-off that they're giving you their data and they're getting access or the benefit from the analytics and the access to other organizations'
That's
data.
right.
So
In an anonymized fashion,
yes,
where they
yes,
cannot make out who is who.
yes,
I think that's key, because you have competition rules, and
yes,
so sometimes they think we are a bit of a black box, that they're sending it in and then out pops this industry, who's behind there, what are the projects. But this is why we have a whole division making sure that the analytics are robust and can be trustable. And most of our clients are returning clients, which means what we're doing, they probably trust it. So that I think that's quite important too. When you're using data, when clients get the answers that they are surprised by, or maybe they do not like, the first thing they will do, or it's just human tendency, is to suspect the source of the data. And this is why this goes back to, you have to make sure your data is usable. Else, if you use it and you don't give an answer that people like, the first thing they'll do is tear down the source of the information, the quality of the information, and then you're arguing over decimal places instead of trying to look and understand the bigger picture.
yes, yes. So if you look at the process and also the kind of insight that you're industry insight that you're generating, what are the key benefits of this whole activity?
I think one is the ability to provide holistic insight in what's happening. I'll give you an example. Even within very large organizations that have a lot of different projects going on in different places of the world, sometimes they don't even know what they're doing in different places of the world. So it's almost like we are one company that can give them holistic insight into how their company is functioning when they're developing projects. So that is within a organization or even across organizations. So I was discussing recently with a client in Iraq, saying, okay, can you come in and compare me to the industry and other projects in Iraq? Okay, how many people have good data about projects completely in southern Iraq? Not a lot. And so I said, look, I have 5 or 6 projects over the last 5 or 6 years. There's not a lot of them, but then I can give you a Iraq specific view and give you your results in the context of Iraq. So we are one of the other, the other benefits is the context. We can provide the context because we have so much flow of good data, and of course the market view. So is the market turning? Is it getting heated? What are you seeing? The benchmarks are moving up and down. So we have the ability to give the current market view of what's going on, which they have their own market intelligence groups, but it is another, they might not get their hands on the data like we do, because we get all the costs, but we get them broken down in very discrete details. So we are able to give the current market information. I think the fourth benefit is, when you see different companies and different projects, you quickly spot patterns of, oh, that one was the best, or that's what the best are doing. And I think that's what everyone comes to us for, say, okay, you've seen all these projects and these companies, which one's the best? And then we say, okay, this company is the best. Okay, why? What are they doing differently? So we are able to provide this insight of not what just the industry is doing, but what the best are doing. And I think that's the advantage overall.
Good. One final question.
Okay.
Looking forward, you talked about the way that your services have developed and the approach has developed. And if you look forward perhaps 5 years, I wouldn't say any further, how do you think this whole world of data analytics is going to change? Well, what's the next big thing on the horizon? Is it automation? What is it?
So I think in the industries that I used to work in, which is mostly oil and gas, I think there is definitely a big push to, um, um, I guess, digitization, a big push to bigger data analytics, a bigger push to um, remote operations, which all involves of using data. So, for example, I believe in the next couple of years, or just recently, also there was the first unmanned processing platform put in the North Sea. So there's nobody on board to look at the plant or operate the plant, and people are sitting in a fancy office, a couple of 100 miles away, just basically running the plant. So you have all these with the ability to transfer electrons and analyze what you're getting out of it quickly. You are finding pockets of taking the human out of it and also getting the machine to interpret the information for you. So uh, uh, I was recently talking to a organization. For most of our projects, we survey what's happening on the ground, so we are measuring progress. We send this back to a bunch of folks, that controllers, that mesh this, and then we then have a whole other layer of people interpreting that and say, okay, we are moving along fine on our project, or we are behind by 20% in engineering, etc. This company has set up a system where um, the everyone from the contractors, tier 1, tier 2, and will provide information in this one space, and they have agreed the formats and what information that needs to come in and how it gets rolled up, so everyone from the CEO down can instantly see what's happening on the project. So the CEO gets a dashboard of 5 or 6 things, and you click on a dashboard and goes one more level and one more level. But it allows the 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 algorithms allows you to interpret data much quicker, which means you're getting real-time information, which is unfiltered, which is also something that people want to see. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the space going forward, which will impact the way we do projects. So more real-time reporting, real-time transparency, ability to respond quicker, etc.
Very good. Thank you ever so much.
Okay, thank you.
You'll find other masterclass videos on www.majorprojectsknowledgehub.net. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive alerts for new video interviews covering all aspects of major projects and their management.